What is the weirdest thing you've had someone looking for in a home?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I wouldn't even know where to start with that.
Have you been in a home and someone's been like, oh man, this wall would be great to hang chains on?
Yes.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!
Hello, everybody. It's time for more Law Light, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtery, fwhlegal.com. We're located at the high-rise white brick edifice at 530 Frederica Street. It is time today to get into some interesting topics, and we have a great guest. PJ, how you been?
Good. You?
Doing well. I'm doing well. Our search for another videographer continues.
It does.
Yes. We will find the right
ongoing.
person to give you some relief.
We
You're
will.
a busy man.
Somebody is out there.
That's right. That's
the
right.
match is out there.
We'll find the right one. Maybe our guest today will just happen to run into somebody, and it'll be a match made in heaven.
Right.
So.
Maybe he's the one.
Maybe. We don't know.
And he'll change careers.
Today we have with us in our continued endeavor in 2021 to so to speak, reach across the aisle into other industries and to allow people to come in as guests to educate us and to hit some legal issues. Ryan Rutman.
Hello.
All right. So Ryan is a real estate agent, well-known real estate agent in our region. I've known Ryan since I've come over to Foreman Watson Holtery, and really our relationship is more of passing in the hall. I'm glad to see you here all the time, and you're glad to be here because that means there's something closing. So
that's right.
But Ryan, other than being an avid Notre Dame fan, you're a realtor.
I am. Yes.
I don't know much about your background.
Okay.
You did tell me a little bit as we were getting our water and getting situated here, but did you grow up in Owensboro?
I did not. And well, first of all, thanks for having me. This
Sure.
is awesome to be here. No, I did. I grew up in a small river town in southern Ohio, kind of at the foothills of Appalachia, called Portsmouth, Ohio.
All right. Well, I was born in Chillicothe, Ohio.
Oh, were you really?
Yeah, I was.
No kidding. Yeah, the paper plant.
I don't remember being in Chillicothe, but that's where I was born. And I always hate it when I have to fill out my place of birth on an application or something. Like, I don't remember how to spell Chillicothe. So
so my hometown's directly south of Chillicothe, hour south.
All right.
So
there you go.
I always knew we were halfway to Columbus growing up because you could smell the paper plant.
That's what I've heard. Yes, you're right. So go ahead. So that's where you were raised.
Yep. And I went to Eastern Kentucky University for college to play baseball, and met my wife, Siobhan, in college at Eastern. And we got married and moved to Owensboro, and the rest is history. So,
okay, so I guess I've already learned something. You played baseball in college.
I did.
Well, we share that in common, only my career was 1 year.
Mine was 2.
Okay, well, there you go. Twice as much. I got to where it was more of a job, and I didn't enjoy it. I didn't love it anymore, so it was like, so.
Yeah, it is a job in college for sure.
From Eastern, when you met your wife, and then you came here. Did I hear that?
That's
right?
correct.
Okay, great. And when you told me you began studying, out in the hall, you told me you began studying like sports medicine or physical therapy, sports
athletic
therapy.
training.
I guess at some point you decided that wasn't the call, and you did something else.
Yeah, I playing baseball, I had 3 shoulder surgeries. I was in the training room a lot, so I just thought this is a natural area to study to get my degree in. That's about all the thought I put into it.
that was amazing.
That was about it. Yeah, I got halfway through it and realized it wasn't for me, but at that point wanted to finish my degree, and I knew I'd end up doing something in business. I grew up around entrepreneurs, around business people, and that's just that's all I've ever known, and it started becoming clear pretty quick that that's the direction I was going to go.
Oh, all right. So when you moved to Owensboro, did you immediately start seeking an occupation with real estate?
I did not. So Siobhan and I, when we moved here, we originally opened with a couple partners out of Elizabethtown, Anytime Fitness out on Highway 54.
Oh, okay.
And we owned it for a couple years, and I sold out of that to my partners. And while I was there, people used to say to me, you should get into real estate. And I'd just kind of blow it off and when that endeavor came to an end, I started seriously looking at real estate.
Well, now before we get into the real estate thing, this interests me. If I'm not mistaken, Anytime Fitness was like the first of its kind in Owensboro where you could go anytime, 24 hours a day, and have access to a place because you had like a card to
little key fob,
right? And there now, like that's been like lots of copycats.
Everybody, right.
But you all were the first of your kind, and you were right over there. It was
right behind McDonald's. It was perfect marketing.
I remember that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. After you're done, you'll get a milkshake. No, that's great.
That's how I know what Anytime Fitness is.
That's right.
I was always staring at it outside the McDonald's window. Yeah,
exactly.
No, I remember that. Well, that's super. I didn't know that was your endeavor.
Yeah.
So
it was.
So you sold your part.
I did,
and then from there it was real estate. Okay. And so when did you get licensed?
So I got licensed in 2008, and I got into this right in the middle of the housing crisis.
Smart fella.
Yeah. And to make it even worse, in a town that I'm not from and didn't know a single person.
Didn't have. Okay, so
You're
I
the
share
same
that
way.
too because when we moved from my parents, we went to Florida. I don't remember living in Ohio.
Right.
But I moved to Kentucky, but it wasn't Owensboro. I moved to Louisville.
Okay. Yeah.
So when I got to Owensboro, I had no connections.
All right.
So it's tough.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of old money here.
It's a very deep-rooted community, which is great. That's what makes Owensboro awesome and unique.
Yes.
But it makes it tough for someone coming from the outside, for sure.
2008, in the middle of a housing crisis and without any connections, Ryan Rutman set sail in the real estate industry.
I did.
PJ, this is going to get interesting. This is maybe a movie.
So, when you're ready to make the story of your life, give me a call.
How'd you go about establishing a name and making a living, most importantly, feeding yourself in 2008, 9, and how to go from there?
I mean, I really my focus went into just meeting as many possible people as I could. Back then, the internet wasn't as big of a deal as far as photos and all the information you needed. So open houses were still a pretty viable marketing tool. And so I spent a lot of time in open houses just meeting people and talking to people. And I just one connection at a time. I started building a relationship. I always made it about the people and not about the house, and I still do.
Right.
So I think that approach out of the gate just helped me kind of get a foothold and just went to work. I mean, just rolled my sleeves up and treated it like it was a job.
And we're going to get into some marketing questions, but one thing that's in common between real estate and then what I do, which is civil litigation, personal injury litigation. Now, we know you as a business partner because of the real estate part of our firm,
right?
Of course. But my personal practice being litigation and civil is that when I throw something out there, I don't know how many people are potentially needy lawyers at that time, but what I've learned to focus on is the people that don't need lawyers right now. I want to become the name that they know when they do need a lawyer.
That's absolutely right.
And so the only way to do that is like what you said, is just get your name out as much as you can.
Yep. That costs money too.
It does.
I mean, it's, I think that's where a lot of real estate people maybe miss the boat in building a long-term career in real estate is they don't invest in the marketing.
Right.
And you just have to. And I made it a point to do that right out of the gate.
Attorneys get a lot of flack, and probably deserve some, because some attorneys just market in ways that are not classy. They're not tasteful. They're not,
realtors as well.
Right.
So.
I mean, I was going down the bypass, last night, and I saw attorneys dressed up like superheroes and calling themselves the Justice League. I'm like, what we do is a serious thing.
Take it serious.
That's right. We do this serious, and there's a way to get that message out, like investing in your community and things like that.
Correct.
And it kind of just cheapens it. And so we get joked about like, oh yeah, the marketers, you're out there you're on billboards and all things like that. But I take our marketing very serious, and I know you do. And it's one of the reasons you were one of the ones I wanted to talk to.
Yeah.
First, let's just ask a question. How many, give or take of, margin of error plus or minus 10, how many realtors are there in Owensboro, Kentucky?
I got the number just the other day.
Okay.
We have 219 full-time realtors that are with our board.
Okay.
The Owensboro Board of Realtors.
Okay.
That was as of Monday.
And that's another interesting parallel. So I don't know if you know this.
I don't.
In Owensboro, if you exclude the judges, I mean, they're attorneys, but they're not practicing. and you exclude the full-time public defenders or Commonwealth attorney or county attorneys, in practice, in private practice in Owensboro, there's about 220 lawyers.
Is there really?
Right.
Oh, wow.
You know, you don't think about that, but so very common to the market, you know, is the same thing. There's about 200, 225 at all time private practicing lawyers in Owensboro. Okay, so the question then becomes, if you have 225 people that you are competing against, even though you're friends with a ton of realtors, how in 2021 do you go about effective marketing?
Well, it's all social media. First of all, I mean, that's where everybody's at, and it has to be. And to what you were saying about your marketing, yours is very professional, and you can, when you hear your spots and when you see your ads, it does send a different message, I think, and that's always kind of been my goal, is to always be top of mind, invest in that marketing. But people know it's more of a branding thing. It's more of an overall branding.
Quick to the mind,
right?
For somebody says, okay, I'm going to put my house up for
Correct.
sale. Well, you know, I keep hearing or seeing Ryan Rutman.
Yeah.
You know, so
I want people, when they see or hear my name, they automatically think of a few things.
Okay. And what are those?
You know, that they would think professionalism, efficient at his job. You know, I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I want people to think family guy.
Right.
You know, things that that they can easily relate to, and it's values that are important to them.
Right.
That they go, he's someone we can work with.
Right.
And that's always kind of been the goal, to where when someone has to make a decision, they know that top of mind is there because the investment's been made into the marketing. But then not only the top of mind, but they know that hopefully I'm someone that is a match for them.
Right. And I'm going to share a funny story. You may remember this. About, I don't know, 6 to 8 months ago, I was scrolling, and I see you more on Instagram. I know you're on Facebook and Twitter, but I see your Instagram stuff a lot because I have kids, and so I'm looking at all these other Instagrams.
Yeah.
I remember it was 6 to 8 months ago, PJ, and you know this better than anybody at the firm, and it was a Tuesday. And you had Tuesday. What do you call it?
Tip Tuesday?
Tip Tuesday. Now, I swear to the heavenly God, okay, that I never knew you did Tip Tuesday. And about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I came to PJ and I said, we need to do Tuesday tips.
Yeah.
And they need to be 30 to 45-second videos that we flood our YouTube channel with, that we flood our social media with.
Yeah.
And it's from the different attorneys saying, hey, if this happens, this is what you need to look for. You know, just little tips.
Right.
I kind of thought, okay, Rutman, you picked up Tuesday tips from us, which is great. You're a realtor. I don't care. You whatever. And so I said, hey, nice. I appreciate your Tip Tuesday. Wink. I gave him a wink sign.
Yeah.
He wrote back and said, yeah, been doing this since so-and-so. I was like, really? I was like, I couldn't believe it. He was like, so it's like we'd come up with that idea. Total. I never spoke to you about that.
No,
you never spoke to me, and I had no idea you did it. And then all of a sudden I hit it, and then I started watching. It comes around Tip Tuesday.
Two pretty smart guys there.
It's great. So, that's an example of what you're talking about.
Yes.
Though. Something Tip Tuesday. Oh, I appreciate you, Ryan. I mean, I know that you don't have to give this advice out. This is why I would hire an agent.
For sure. Yeah.
But you give a Tip Tuesday, and it's something that helps people with either the sale or as a buyer or in that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it's that, you know, people get tired of seeing sold, like they want value. You know, when they get into social media, what's something they're going to be able to see that may help them a little bit, you know. That's why we started that Tip Tuesday stuff, and just always trying to be creative, like with the guess the price that we do.
I like that it has the symbol. Kind of looks like Price
is Right.
Yeah, kind of like we use Law Light. From, you know, like Okay, so you had one of those yesterday, didn't you?
I'm leaving here and going to do another one.
Okay, there you go.
Third day in a row.
Let's talk a little bit about your book.
Okay. Yeah.
You wrote a book a couple years ago. Called The Smart Agent, and the SMART is an acronym,
correct?
Right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the book.
There's a backstory to it, and I'd always wanted to write a little book. I'm not a writer. I'm not a novelist. It was something I thought would be neat to do. And we were actually in a Notre Dame football game, me and my wife and our 2 kids, and I spent half the game working a real estate deal that was an absolute disaster, and it was just frustrating. And but it was, you know, time was of the essence, and it just had to be done. And so the next day coming home, Siobhan knew I was frustrated, and she asked me what was going on, and I said, you know, it really just boiled down to the agent wasn't very smart. It wasn't handling it in a smart way. And I said, And I'm not talking about IQ, brain smart, just dealing with people and just that kind of smart.
Right.
And she said, well, how would you define smart? I said, give me 5 minutes. And I thought about it, and I just immediately spit back at her. I said, S stands for sensible, M stands for memorable, A stands for attentive, R stands for responsive, and T stands for thankful. So that those 5 components make up a smart agent. If you can nail those 5 components, then you're going to be able to build good relationships with people and have a business that lasts.
So that's the book.
That's the book.
And it's about 70-page book.
Yep.
And you go through each of those.
Yep.
The sensible.
Yep.
What was M?
Memorable.
Memorable. See, memory. Got it.
Yep.
All right. Attentive.
R, responsive,
and then thankful.
Thankful.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Now, is this an extra copy?
For sure. It's for you.
So for me to keep. PJ, I'll read it and hand it to you.
Sounds good.
Things we can learn. But this is another example. All right, something different that you've done as an agent. Now, tell me a little about your team. I know you and your wife work together, right?
Yep.
Anybody else on your team?
Yeah, just recently. So Siobhan's been licensed for 3 or 4 years, and just last year she started really focusing on the sales side more. Our girls are getting older, and it's just getting easier for both of us to be in the sales part. So, and we recently just added Stephanie Hardesty.
Okay.
She knows a lot of people. Grew up here, went to Catholic, and she worked at the health park for a long time. So, super good person, and she'll do great things. And we've actually just recently hired a marketing manager as well, named Ashley Wedding, and she's always worked with Owensboro Parent and Owensboro Living magazines.
Oh, right.
So she's got that background. And then really the glue of our team that kind of keeps everything together and getting to closing is Darlene Reiners. She does all of our transaction management, and
I think that people downstairs would be very familiar with her.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Once we sell a house, then she picks it up and makes sure that it's a success from there.
That's great.
Yeah.
Have a person like
for
that.
sure.
Now we're gonna shift this to the legal talk here in a minute, which is the boring stuff. But you sell for Remax. I hate that language. You sell for, but Remax is the brokerage firm. Now, do realtors, like, let's say you decide you want to sell for Remax or Century 21 or name it, Home Realty, whatever. When you sell under their umbrella, do they contribute to your marketing in any way?
Not directly, no, but it's a large franchise. So like Remax LLC, I believe they come into markets and they contribute to the office for like billboards or. But basically, and I don't. Maybe it's different, like with Century 21. And
right, you're just speaking for yours.
Yes,
okay.
Remax is a different setup where yes, we're under our brokerage, but we're 100% independent. Like independent contractors,
right.
And all realtors are. But with Remax, it's a little different the way the setup is, where we have full control over our own businesses as individuals, and what we choose to do, as long as it's with within the guidelines of the brokerage.
Now,
correct.
So what I guess I'm kind of hearing you is that you get the benefit because Remax is going to dump money into their markets.
Correct.
But it's going to be general Remax.
For sure.
It's not going to be Remax Ryan Rutman.
No,
it's going to be Remax. So when people see Ryan Rutman attached to Remax, you're getting the benefit of Remax dumping marketing dollars into the region.
For sure.
And then your own individual marketing couples with that. And you're allowed to use their trusted name on all of your materials and colors and all that kind of thing.
Yep.
Is that kind
absolutely.
of in short?
For sure.
I don't know if you went to a place and said, hey, let's develop a logo, but your backwards R and your forward R, it's very, very, we just spent several $1,000s to redo all of our stuff, and it's a very good one.
Thank you.
When we hear words like broker and agent, those actually have a legal meaning.
They do.
In a Cliff Note type Reader's Digest version, what is that relationship between a broker and agent? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so the principal broker of a real estate office is ultimately the one that is responsible for the legalities and how agents conduct themselves. So I could go out today and do something wrong and do a bad deal, and at the end of the day, it falls on the broker's shoulders. Mm-hmm. So they're liable for our actions and how we run our business. So that's a big responsibility, being a real estate broker of an office. Now, you can be a broker and just be an agent. You don't have to be the principal broker of an office.
Right.
I am not a broker. I'm just an agent. Our responsibility back to the broker is just to make sure that we're operating ethically and within the code of ethics and reporting and exactly.
Now there is a separate brokerage licensing process you have to take so many class hours and then sit for the test, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And you have to have been selling for 2 years.
Is that Kentucky or is that nationwide? Is it
it's
specific
probably,
to Kentucky law?
I know that's Kentucky. It's
Okay.
probably pretty similar
All
across the board, I would think. Yeah, I've never looked into other states.
So that kind of gives us an idea of it. But I think the more important thing I want to get to is being an agent. Okay, so somebody said, well, my real estate agent is so-and-so. But what creates that agency relationship is a contract, right? You have an agency contract with a person saying that for a specific period of time, I'm acting as your agent.
Correct.
And there's 2 types of agencies, correct?
Right.
There is a listing agent when you are a seller, and then there is a buyer's agent.
Buyer's agent.
Right.
Yeah. And there's also a dual agent where you're
both.
You're representing both.
Give us an understanding, a little bit of an understanding what that means.
So if you're a listing agent solely, then your responsibility is to that seller. Your fiduciary responsibility is to make sure you're putting that seller in the best possible position. And so, as far as information sharing, and you can't give away anything that would put that particular seller client, their positioning in a transaction at risk, or you're solely responsible to them. And it's the same for the buyer. On the buyer side, a buyer's agent, their agency relationship is, as a realtor working with a buyer, your responsibility is to put that buyer in the best possible position.
Okay, so I think a lot of people forget that they can pick up the phone. I think a lot of people are independent. They like to go out and look at houses,
Yes.
and then they'll see, oh, this one's listed by Ryan Rutman, and they'll call the number, that's on the sign or is on in the media, social media.
Yes.
And they'll say, hey, I see, how much is this house? What's the square? Can I see it? That blah blah blah. But they forget that there's a market. I think you gave me some statistics. How many units are on the market right now? Do we know?
I don't think that has a.
Okay.
It's not over. It's less than 200.
But so there's about 200 or less units on the market right now. But listen, in 2020, there was 1,500 houses or units sold in Davis County, right?
Yeah.
Right.
What was the percentage increase there on that?
It's from 2020, between 2020 and 2019, based on the numbers you gave me, it was a 9.42%.
In the middle of a national pandemic.
Yeah. So very good point. So here I am in the middle of a pandemic, and I know there's a limited number of houses on the market because I'm seeing you guys say I need houses to sell. But as a buyer, rather than me going through all of this and wasting all this time driving through neighborhoods or just sitting there, I can call you and say, all right, Ryan, here's what Missy and I are looking for.
Yeah.
We're looking for a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. We want it on the east end of Davis County. Can you look at that and give me an idea where we need to begin? And the first question you ask, how much you want to spend.
Correct.
I give you a ballpark, and then you go to town.
Go to town, that's it.
And if it's not on the market, then you start asking through your social media, I need this. Does anybody want to sell it?
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. So that's being a buyer's agent.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah, working for the buyer to find them a home on their behalf. Yeah.
PJ, do you? When I think of agents, just in the back of my mind, I think of agents as sellers, but thinking of them being your helper, your counselor, helping you in that search for a home, just as important.
Yes, and I have. You were talking to PJ. I'm
no,
sorry.
well, PJ's going to do some talking here, but
eventually,
have you ever thought of that?
No. Well, and it's that sort of answered a question that I already had going through my head, which was, you said right now there's less than 200 houses in the market, but there's 219.
Correct.
Agents. So I was like, what are those 30 other agents doing? But that answers the question. They're actively trying to find housing for families and couples.
And it tells you how competitive the market is, because if there's 200 houses on the market right now, and I don't know how many do you have listed? Do you know?
Like 7 right now.
7 houses listed, okay? You say, well, only 7 houses listed? Well, when there's only 200 on the market and there's 219 agents, having 7 or 8 houses listed is a big deal.
Right.
That's right. All right, and then you couple that with your responsibilities as a buyer's agent looking for houses, and so then explain real briefly the role of a dual agent.
So that's where it gets tricky, and that's where it really comes down to the ethics of the realtor, in my opinion, and communication becomes very key, because you are representing buyer and seller at the same time. And Gary Magling, our old broker at Remax, used to say you can't serve two gods. It makes sense when you think of it that way, but it really just boils down to you just have to let the process work itself out. And you can't say one thing to lean another way or one thing to lean another way. You just have to.
I think I would have either a group text or a group email in that situation.
Correct.
Where everything that one side knows, the other side knows. For sure. I mean, you'd have to. Yeah. I had a situation one time where a person that I had done some business work for called me and said, "Hey, I'm going to be building a nice home, and I've met with the builder, and I want to send you over the contract that he's proposing." I said, "Yeah, sure." I said, "Get it over to me. We'll look through it. We'll mark it up. We'll send it over to the builder." About a day and a half, he never did. About a day and a half later, I get a phone call from a builder, and I represent several builders here in town. And builder calls me and says, "Hey, I'm going to be doing a pretty nice house. I'm going to be building a pretty nice house here in Owensboro." And he was like, "I need to get you over the contract I sent him because I have a feeling he's got it to a lawyer and it's going to be coming back to me with some markups." I said, "Sure, go ahead, send it over to me." So he sends it to me. I get it immediately. Print it out. I'm still old school. I print it out, and I got it sitting here. I mean, minutes after that, the businessman that was going to be hiring the builder emails me. He goes, sorry, I got sidetracked. Here's this contract. I need to know something because I'm supposed to meet with him, in a day or so. So I said, okay. So I print it. I just click on it and print it. I didn't even look at it. Right. Bring him back in, and I look, and I realize I got two copies of the same contract.
Oh gosh.
I'm like, oh no.
No. Yeah.
So I called both because I had done a lot of work. I said, look, I'm happy to do this, but if anything comes. If you all ever get in a dispute about this contract, I can't help either one of you because I wrote I'm going to have written the contract. They both agreed. Luckily, there was only one small dispute that came out of the building of this humongous home.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it worked out.
But you have to be diligent in that situation.
You have to.
You have to
Communication. You have to be smart. That's exactly right.
So
yeah.
All right. Well, this has been great, and you've been super. One thing before, PJ, you have a couple questions on the cooker that you wanted to ask Ryan, but before we get to those, a few statistics I thought would be helpful for the listeners. Let's just talk about the difference between 2019 and 2020. Now, at the top of this, you've told me that this includes single family homes, townhomes, and condos.
Correct.
All right. So in total units sold, all MLS. Now, what's the MLS?
So the MLS is all homes that get listed by a real estate agent, by a realtor.
Okay.
And MLS includes Davis County and the surrounding counties.
Okay, so that's why it's bigger than the number above it, which is just Davis County.
Just Davis, right.
So even in if you look at the MLS, which would be Owensboro and surrounding counties, there was a 6.49, almost 6.5% increase in sales between 19 and 20.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep, correct.
That's incredible.
It is.
Just to give people an idea of what that means is if there was anywhere from 1,500 to 1,800 units sold in 2020, that number is $315 million.
Of sales volume.
And that
was
a big number. That was up 19%. I mean, that's crazy.
I mean, think about where everybody was at mentally in March, how we thought the year might go. We're scared and we don't know what's going to happen. And lo and behold, you get to the end of the year and you've seen these kind of percentage increases across the board in real estate. And it's just mind boggling. So you've mentioned it a couple of times, that low inventory, that with the high demand and low interest rates. And it's like a perfect storm that has kept the housing market moving. And this isn't just in Owensboro. This is housing has stayed strong nationwide.
We'll do a little question and answer. PJ, if I was to ask you what the average sale price of Owensboro surrounding counties, okay, not just Davis County, so Owensboro and surrounding, the MLS, okay, if I was to ask you what you believe to be the average sale price of a unit in 2020, what would you think it would be? You're looking through the back.
No. I'm looking over your shoulder at your screensaver thinking. You asking me this question reminds me of when someone says, "How old do you think I am?"
Oh, yeah.
Because I always try to look at the person
but you're not going to hurt any feelings here. Just shoot it out there.
Right. Well, I'm not going to guess how old you are.
You know how old I am. Yeah.
Don't guess how old I am.
I would say, you said in 2020?
Yeah, 2020. Pandemic year.
75,000.
Oh, see, there you go. So this will be educational. The average sale price of MLS per unit is $174,758.
I was only off by 100,000.
Yeah,
that's pocket change.
That's incredible.
It really is.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you bringing those because that's interesting to me. Okay, let's PJ's is great for coming up with off the wall silly. But PJ, do you have a few questions that you wanted to ask Ryan before we conclude?
This is the portion of the interview where you get less intelligent questions.
Okay, perfect.
So
this is a chance for me to drink my water,
so I can relax now. Yeah.
No, I tend to lean towards the macabre and things like that because I always I'm a storyteller, so I always think about like worst case scenarios and stuff like that, conflict,
right,
which is most stories. So in terms of thinking, like what you do for a living, just for starters, what is the oddest or the weirdest thing you've had someone looking for in a home?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I wouldn't even know where to start with that.
Yeah, see, my mind immediately, like, have you been in a home and someone's been like, oh man, this wall would be great to hang chains on?
Yes.
Not for S&M purposes, but for maybe like they're a serial killer. Maybe.
No.
I mean, like, have you had anybody that wanted a storm shelter? Or
oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. People throw some things on their wish list that you hate to burst their bubble. I had this conversation with someone yesterday. There's been people, we were talking about electrical lines in backyards, power lines. And, there's people that get funny about things like that. And they would say they won't live in a certain part of the county because it's close to the OMU plant on 60 East or, just different environmental factors that people, and you don't get that every day, and you have to go with it and try to help them the best you can, but makes it difficult.
Right.
So
overhead power lines, people want to be so far from them because of the potential radiation issue or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or whatever reason they come up with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's flip the script a little bit. So as far as getting a home to do a listing for, I'm sure you go into the house and you look around and you make sure that the house is kosher enough to try to sell.
Yeah.
So do you have any stories where like you've gone into a house and you're like, yikes, this is not going to happen? And I mean, you don't have to say like who owned the house, but like what types of things or situations have you gone into a home and you've encountered where you're like, no, this isn't happening?
I had a house. I was first in. When you first get into real estate, you're going or first get into law or whatever it is. Like you're going to do anything you can possibly get your hands on.
Right.
And it didn't matter what it was. And I'm still that way to a degree. But I had a listing way out in the boonies, and I walk in the door. It was a listing appointment, meeting with people. And I walk in the door, and I know there was 30 cats in this house. They were on top of every couch, on top of every chair. They were on the kitchen. I mean, there were cats everywhere. And then I kind of just rolled with it for a little bit. House was full of carpet. There was not a piece of tile, not a piece of vinyl, not a piece of hardwood. It was all carpet. So you know what I'm getting at. And we get to,
I've seen enough episodes of Hoarders to know how that goes.
And then we get to the back, and there's a room full of dogs. There's like 4 or 5 dogs. And so when I left that house, I was physically sick from the smell. I had to go home. Siobhan made me like take my clothes off in the garage and walk through the house to the shower. I mean, it was that bad. And I had to go to bed. I was physically ill.
Did you list it?
I did not list it.
I was going to say.
I did not list it. No.
Animal hospital.
I was going to say, you made a different call to the Humane Society.
Yes.
Instead.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
Anything else, PJ? You have any other questions over there?
No, I think
I
do this. I do this. I was going to say I do the same thing to everybody. Like when we get a new Orchid man coming into our house, I'm like, so what's the most disgusting house you've ever been in?
We had David Clark from Cromwell Media on the show, and he told us that for a handful of years he was the head of housekeeping. What was it? Room service. He was the head of room service at the Old Executive.
Oh my gosh!
And we were like, I bet he could tell you some stories, and sure enough, he could.
Guarantee it.
That's for Law Light After Dark.
Right? Yeah.
That's a whole different story. Ryan, I appreciate you coming on to the Law Light podcast. A couple things. I wish you the best, man.
Yeah, you too.
You as you continue to market, and as you continue to build your business, and for you and your family, I wish you the best in that. And thank you for giving us some time. Your time is like my
for sure.
I know it's important, and we'll get you back on sometime, maybe next year when we circle back and talk to people. And thank you for bringing your book and the stats. It made the show great.
Perfect.
PJ, anything else?
Nope.
All right. Well,
thank you guys. I appreciate the opportunity.
This has been More Law Light. It's been brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry. Today with our special guest, Ryan Rutman. For more information about what we do, www, of course, everybody knows that now, you don't have to say it, fwhlegal.com. Dedicated to you, committed to justice.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith and justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!